Hi everyone! So the other day I did a update story on my dad, and my desk is exactly the same except for I brought out a cup and a couple of little smaller beads. So we are going to continue with the dad saga, I guess we would call it. So I last left off on day 2, I think. So we are now on day 3. Today is actually day 4. So for day 3, he went in for surgery for the 3rd time, which is just wild to me that they would operate on somebody 3 days in a row, but they did. They said, they just had to give a 24-hour gap in between surgeries and that he was okay to do surgery. The whole time he was in the ICU, which is just crazy to me, but okay. And I get it. It's because of the blood thinners, and they were constantly like checking on him, and there was people like constantly like in and out of the room the whole time, whether it was like a caseworker, to see like if he was gonna need any help afterwards when he came home, to nurses, to doctors, to surgeons, like everybody. There was a ICU floor manager who was really nice. He would go in daily and say, how's the staff treating you? Everybody good? Do you have any complaints? Is there any way we can improve on service? So that was really nice. So yeah, it was just a lot. So day 3, he goes in for surgery again. And on day 3, his surgeon actually comes in. When I say surgeon, I mean like his original surgeon, because if you guys been with me for a while, you know that this is not my dad's first like big surgery. So the surgeon that did his bypass is who I'm talking about right now. All of his bypass. So his normal surgeon, she stopped by in between, which I thought was super nice. She's there seeing other patients, and in between surgery, she stopped in to see him and explain to us what was going on. So for some reason, when they would go, and so like day 1, they stuck a stent in my dad's artery, and they were trying to like flush it out because it was a little clogged. And when they would do that, his blood turned into a weird jelly slime instead of being like normal blood. And this is with him being on 3 blood thinners. So on day 2, when they did the surgery, they put a basket in there, she said, that's supposed to catch the clots before it goes down to the calf and to the foot, because he didn't have a pulse down in his foot. Like at the calf, they would lose it. So nothing in the ankle or their foot, for days. So they put a basket, and because his blood was this texture that they've never seen before, which is scary to hear, it was getting through and around the basket that's supposed to be helping him and catching this stuff. So because of that, he now has to go get genetic testing done next week. They said probably they'll do it because right now, he's on blood thinner, so they want his blood to be as normal as possible before they go ahead and do the genetic testing, which I'm like, okay, that makes total sense, because I was like, well, why don't you guys just do it here? And she's like, no, we want it to be normal, consistency, because right now, he's, on a bunch of blood thinners. So I'm like, okay, that makes total sense. So that's what happened on day 1 and 2, was his body was just reacting to them doing surgery. So on day 2, they even checked to make sure it was like a liquidy substance, like it should be like normal blood, and it was. So that's why they proceeded with the surgery, and they took that extra precaution of putting a basket, but his body still reacted where his blood turned to like goop and got past this basket that they had put in, which is just wild to me. So on day 2, they had doped him up with more blood thinners. And on day 2, I think it was, they said, oh, he should be off the blood thinners because we don't like going past 2 days, So he actually was on blood thinners for 3 days. So they went past what they had originally said that they were going to be doing because he needed it. So day 3 surgery goes, and they were done like really fast compared to all the other days. Like in an hour and a half, he was back in the room. So I was kind of worried, like, oh God, did it like react again and they just are giving up or what? And they said no, that they got good enough for now. So in surgery, they got it well enough that it was flowing through his calf, which they were hoping would then go down to the ankle and the foot. And they didn't want to push their luck, which makes sense to me, because they had so many problems. So once they got the blood flow further than they had ever had before, they stopped surgery and just said, okay, just let him be. So that's where we were on day 3. So today is day 4, which is his dialysis day. So they did dialysis there at the hospital. And today they actually got a pulse down in his foot, which is amazing news because that was not happening before. So that's really good news. So they said things were looking really good and really up. But it's so weird because when I was there talking to my dad, and even the nurses were having a hard time like understanding him, because as it is, you gotta like speak his language. He's kind of hard to understand. And I'm like, why is he talking like if he's drunk? And, like he just seems out of it. And they said because they had him on, all these blood thinners and all these like pain meds, that his body is basically reacting and, it's trying to readjust to going back to normal. So he was on the meds since the whole time he was in the hospital to like early this morning, and then they just like stopped them. So his body was having to then like readjust and just kind of go back to normal. And even in the hospital, like he hardly like slept unless they had just given him the pain meds, and then he would like knock out. And today, like he was just like out of it, so I'm like, yeah, I could tell like he doesn't feel well. And it's so funny because my dad will never say anything, and it's so frustrating to me because I'm like, they'll ask him, are you having any pain? No, I'm good, I'm okay. And I have had to learn how to read him. I have had to learn how to tell if he's in pain, if he's like having anxiety, nervousness, or is he okay, because he won't speak up. And I'm like, they are asking you for a reason. Like, you need to say if you're in pain or not, and not just like hold it in. And they'll tell him too, like, yeah, that's why we're asking you. You need to tell us. And he just doesn't speak up for the most part. So yeah, I've had to just learn by his facial expressions and, how he is, what's going on. Like, if he's joking and like talking shit, he's good. If you're talking to him and he's quiet, he's in pain. If you're talking to him and his eyes are closed like he's sleeping, but you can tell he's listening, that means he's nervous and has anxiety. So like, I've had to figure out over the years, what's going on, so then I can go ahead and tell them like, this is what's going on, And like with his normal surgeon, like she knows me, so she knows like I'll speak up for him. So I just really love that lady. Like, she's been so great for us because she's learned, because we've been with her for years, how he is. So if I'm saying something, it's not like, sometimes I think some of the doctors like feel like I'm trying to like take over type of a thing, but it's like, I know how my dad is. He won't speak up. That's why I'm saying something, instead of him. And not only that, like, he's such a baby. So my grandma babies him. Okay, she is going to be 94 in a couple of days. His birthday is the day before hers, and she babies him. Okay, I am not kidding. Like, super, super babies him. And then when he got with my mom, she babied him because he expected the same thing, like same treatment, you know? And then once I got older, you know, it became like my problem where it's like now I have to baby him. But my brother's the same way. So I'm like, this is our fault that we let them get away with it, right? That they are just like these big man children because we've just always done everything for them. So one of the nurses caught on because she would go give him his medicine. And, you know, the first time I sat there and I didn't get up, you know, and he's like, Nicole. So I knew exactly what that was. So I had to get up, get the meds, give it to him, and then like give him his water. And she was laughing. She was like, I could have done that for you. And he's like, no, it's okay. She's got it. You know, and I'm like, that's just how he is. You just gotta like let him be. But another thing too is this is not the first time that he's had to be on blood thinners. And I think another reason too why he's like very like touch my medicine, look at my medicine is the very first time that he was on blood thinners, they made a mistake. And just because I started reading the label and like reading the pamphlet, like, you know, they give you like a discharge paper, I started reading all of that, and because of that, I was like, no, these don't match. Like, this doesn't make sense. And I'm like, or at least it doesn't make sense to me. So I called the pharmacy, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, come back in. So I showed them, and if I would have given my dad the blood thinners the way that they prescribed it, I would have killed him. I am certain of it because it was 3 times the amount he should have received. So definitely 100% ever since then, he will not touch med unless I've touched it first. And as wild as it sounds, like yeah, that's how it is. So I'm like, we've been through a lot. Like, I always make fun of him that he has 9 lives, or I'll call him a cockroach because, you know, like cockroaches just never die. They say like they've been here forever, right? So like I said, we talk shit and we banter with each other. So if I call him a cockroach, like, he's not like, oh, offended by it, you know? So yeah, I make fun of him that he is going to outlive all of us. I tell him like, you're going to outlive me at this point because he's gone through all of his lives that he should have had, you know? So I'm like, some reason he's still here. Like, it was so funny. Even, one of his nurses was a male nurse, and he's like, oh, good, you're here. He's like, I like playing a game with the families. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, what is it? And he's like, how well do you know your dad? And I'm like, okay. So, you know, he's like, how would he want me to address him? And I'm like, probably just by Robert. And he's like, okay. And he's like, you know, what is his career? And I said, to be a royal pain in my ass. And the guy's face was shocked. And my dad is cracking up. And he's like, that's damn right. He's like, that's it. But the guy's face was like completely like, oh my God, did she just say that? But that's just like how we are, right? And then I don't remember like what some of the other questions were. Like, oh, what's his favorite food? And I was like, McDonald's. And he's like, that's not a food. I'm like, tell him that. I'm like, he had multiple birthday parties at McDonald's when he was a kid. And the guy's like, you can have a birthday party there? My dad's like, yeah, they used to have cakes and everything. So I think the guy nurse just got like a kick out of like asking us questions, because like even after that, like after like this little like paper that he had of questions, like he just kept asking like more random questions, and I think like we're just like entertainment for him. Like, he spent so much time in the room with us, and I think it was just like, these people are dumb. You know? But that's how you know when my dad's feeling well. If we are joking and we are trashing each other, that's how you know that he's feeling well. That's what I told him. I said, if he's not joking and if he's not like talking trash, then he doesn't feel good. And I'm like, and that's exactly how you'll know. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with that male nurse. But yeah, so God, that's day 3, right? So day 4, he had dialysis. It was dialysis day, so he had it there, and then he got to go home. So he's been asleep ever since. Like I said, he's just does not feel well. I can tell he does not feel well. He's just been sleeping. I try to wake him up to eat. He didn't even want to eat. He says he just rather sleep. So I'm like, well, you know what? As long as he's got a little bit of liquids, you know, when I wake him up, he'll be good. I'm like, I'm thinking he's going to probably wake up later tonight and then he'll want like a sandwich or an oatmeal or something. So, you know, whenever he's ready for that, you know, he'll definitely get that because he hasn't really ate today. But he is home and I'm sure he's happy even though he's, you know, been out of it. But it's just so different being home than being in a hospital. And like I said, somebody is constantly checking on him. They were supposed to check on him every hour. Okay, so that was one thing. On day 3, I think I told you guys on the first video that they had him in ICU because of the medications he was on and because he needed to be checked every hour because he was on the 3 different blood thinners. They had to make sure that he didn't start bleeding from anywhere. Well, day 3, that did happen. So they had to call in the doctor to check him out. So he did start bleeding out of places that he shouldn't have been bleeding out of, that they were even debating if they were going to do the surgery or not on that day. And then they ended up deciding that they were going to go ahead and do the surgery anyways, because I don't know why they figured it, but they did. So, and then in the end, it ended up working out. So that's where we are. So day 4 basically was dialysis. We had to sit around and wait for everybody to clear him. He got some new meds. He basically has been asleep, and that's been pretty much it for day 4. So we were still there most of the day today. So that was nice. Oh, I would say that was nice to get out of there. The other thing was he had a bird making a nest right outside his window. So that was really fun that we got to sit there and watch, because these crows, I'm guessing they're crows or maybe ravens, I don't know, whatever bird's black. You guys know I'm not a fan of birds. They're huge birds, like big old wingspans. They were bringing like branches. Okay, I've never seen a bird nest like this. Like, they were not bringing twigs or grass. Like, they were bringing full-on branches that I'm like, where are they even getting these like big trees? Like, it was like pieces of a tree. I'm like, where are they like pulling these from, you know? And I have no idea. It was just wild. So yeah, that was fun. We got to watch that. And that's pretty much it. So I'll keep you guys updated. He has a couple of doctor's appointments next week. Like I said, we're going to do a genetic testing to see what is going on with that. Hopefully that comes out good, because then if it comes out bad, then I need to get tested to see if I have whatever weird thing that he has. Which is funny because we've already gone through this, but on my mom's side. And my mom's dad, my grandfather, was, I think, the 30th case ever documented. Something like that. Like, it was under 40. He might have been like 32 or something. But yeah, something crazy that I've ever documented with this specific like blood disorder. So we all had to get tested for that. And my mom and I came out negative. So based off of my dad's, we might have to get tested for that. And I always say, if it's a 1 in a million chance, it's going to happen in this family. If it's like the rarest thing, you know, that no, it possibly can't be that, I'm like, it's going to be that. So yeah, it's always weird. Like, multiple family members have had some weird medical stuff happen. So anyways, that's our little update for today. I'm feeling a lot happier, a lot less stressed. So thank you guys for all your prayers. We appreciate continued prayers, because like I said, this is not over. He is sad that I canceled his birthday trip. He was trying to convince me that he can go, and I'm like, no, you cannot. The nurse said, no, you cannot. And he was like, yeah, we got this. And I'm like, no, you're staying home. So I'll keep you guys updated on that, but I am definitely going to be canceling that. I haven't yet. I need to go do that. So all right, bye guys.